Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Searchcast. Today with me, I have an old friend, Rick Elmore, an entrepreneur, sales and marketing expert, and former college and professional athlete. We can touch on that for sure. It's a cool story. As the founder and CEO of Simply Noted, Rick developed a proprietary technology that puts real pen and ink to paper to scale handwritten communication. Thanks for being on, Rick.
It's great to be here, and it's great to see you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, so Rick and I actually went to high school together. He was a star football player, very good. I was just a guy to play football, but we've known each other for a very long time, and it's really fascinating to see how careers develop and our paths are crossing for our love and passion of SEO. Even though Rick himself maybe not is not a professional SEO, he's super passionate about it and is getting results that would be equal to many of the great ones. But before we get into that, Rick, icebreaker question for you: which TV character, movie character, book character your choice would be either a great or terrible SEO, and why?
Um, that's a good question. I don't watch tons of TV. I do watch one show perpetually, like over and over. It is The Office. I just love it. It's just funny, the characters, how they just make light of everything. But if I can think of somebody who made really terrible at it, it'd probably be Michael Scott because he's all over the place and he's emotional and he wants everybody to like him. So I would think he'd make a terrible SEO. But hey, maybe be really good at making connections and making people his friends. So maybe they'd all backlink to him and help like build up his domain authority or something.
Michael Scott, the digital PR expert.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Rick, what is Simply Noted?
So Simply Noted is a interesting business. It is a very, very, very tiny niche, but it all started when I was doing my MBA. I played football and then got in the corporate world and really just wanted to do something else. And I was in a marketing class and I had a professor who said handwritten notes had a 99% open rate. And I was in sales and I was like, man, if I can get in front of my client 99% of the time, that's going to make me more successful. So we can dig into it more, but at a very high 50,000 foot overview, Simply Noted is a handwritten notes platform. And what we do is we make it for companies, or we make it easy for companies to integrate, automate, and scale real handwritten communication. We do that through robotics that we've engineered. We have 9 patents on our technology, software that we build, integrations to Shopify, Zapier, Integromat, APIs, webhooks, all that stuff, so we can automate based off of triggers. And yeah, we can do a lot of cool tracking through QR codes as well.
I think we got to put the 9 patents into your bio. That's pretty impressive.
I never thought I would be, a football player building robots, doing industrial automation, and submitting for patents. Just never thought that'd be a thing.
Speaking of football, I'm sure there's some crossover there. Any cool stories from examples of how people are using Simply Noted?
Well, we try to tell people to use it as like a customer retention tool, like relationships, because we all know the cost of acquisition is a lot more expensive than, increasing lifetime value, getting referrals, allowing your business to grow more organically. So we try to have people say, hey, send like a holiday card, birthday card, thank you card, something like that to really like connect and leave a lasting impression on a client, because in today's day and age, like everything's automated, everything's digital. We're drowning in notifications. Like everything is just so non-personal. So when somebody gets something in the mail, where mailboxes are empty nowadays, it kind of feels like a gift or a treat, because you're giving somebody what, at least what their perception is, your time. And we want people to use our tool as a retention relationship building tool, but we have so many companies who use us for like fundraising, development, lead generation, because our QR code tracking technology is unique to our service. And QR code tracking in print mail has been a thing for a long time, but doing it with handwritten mail is a whole different beast, because it involves a level of technology that was never there. And we actually had to, I want to say invent it, but we had to integrate it into our systems, which was really hard. So yeah, I would say people use it for retention, but also acquisition as well.
I gotta think that you being recruited at a high level out of high school to play college football, something like that would make the job on the recruiting trail much easier if they're blasting out handwritten notes that look you know authentic and personal versus sitting there watching
Yeah.
Urban Meyer, Pete Carroll write
Yeah.
like, notes. So super cool.
Yeah, I mean, we do work with some colleges. It's nowhere near like our best niches to work with, but yeah, we do work with like school presidents, our school presidents, and some like coaches. Some at U of A, but yeah, we do that.
So, awesome career. Awesome to watch your career from afar. We've interacted on LinkedIn a lot, which was cool. But how did you discover the world of SEO? Was it before Simply Noted? Was it,
So no,
you started?
I w- I had no idea what it was. So I started this business, and I never should have started this business because I knew nothing about anything. I was a sales guy and an athlete, which is a great thing because it's forced me to just become so much more of a well-rounded professional because I've had to figure out everything. I've had to solve problems everywhere. And every day I walk into a new problem and I have to solve a new problem. So I just feel like the personal growth by being an entrepreneur, I feel like it's like 100 years of a corporate career. It's just the last 5 years have been like 100 years of a corporate career. It just feels so much more capable as an individual in business. But I didn't do any SEO on my website. I hired two firms like a year into my business, like two different like agencies, and I just thought like what they were going to do was going to like radically change my business in like a couple months, but I had no idea like what went into it. And like I remember signing my first agency contract, it was like 18 grand. I was like, man, if I'm going to give you 18 grand, like you better do something. And I just realized like what they were doing. It's just kind of like a run of the mill service. They would post one blog a week, try to get one backlink. And I thought that was like a lot. And then I just started watching like a lot of YouTube videos and listening to podcasts. I was like, man, these guys are not doing anything. Like this is like such basic stuff. And I just ended up firing both of those companies and I just overtook it myself. And this is where like the love for it like really started because you just started seeing like the results. And I just dove like fully in. I just found a really good blog writer, and this is before the Google apocalypse. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. Now it's like all over the place in a mess. But I hired a blog writer. We posted a blog every day. I started doing a lot of like email outreach and social, like LinkedIn outreach to start building backlinks. Started doing PR. Um, like I hired a PR firm to get us stories online, which would then backlink to our website. I started doing a lot of podcasting because every time you do a podcast, they link to your website, so that's another link. I started reaching out to like universities to like submit data and submit studies to see if I can get like a backlink from like a .org. And it's a rabbit hole that never stops. So then I started finding all these tools, like Surfer SEO, and what was the other one before Surfer? I don't even remember. Like all these AI writing tools, and I could talk to you about AI writing that like hurt us for a while. But like I'm a tool guy. I like finding tools and testing tools and seeing if they work. But yeah, I wish, you know, I'm sure a lot of people out there feel the same way, but I wish Google didn't do what they did 3 or 4 months ago or 5 months ago because like it's taking a lot of the fun out of like traditional old school SEO. Now it's forcing you to go in a completely different direction, which probably will be a good thing because it forces you to grow again and learn something new and adapt.
Yeah, Google's changes have been a very divisive topic in the SEO community. People are starting to realize more than ever how much of a bottom line that Google has to operate towards. And,
Mm-hmm.
organic has always had their turf encroached upon,
Mm-hmm.
going back 10, 15 years, where, it was like 90-10 split organic to paid search. But, as Google has, gotten bigger and bigger and acquired more and more companies,
Yep.
paid search is what drives their business. But
Yep.
on the opposite side, they also have more competition than ever. So without
Mm-hmm.
great organic search results, people are going to lose trust in Google, and they're going to be less likely to
Yeah.
do the paid stuff. So it
Yep.
is very interesting to follow the trials, to follow the Google leaks, and all of that. So I think you're spot on with that. I don't know that anybody likes the changes. Specifically like having this local search forums or just search forums and Reddit being showing up for almost any topic you can search for, which is
Yeah.
just absurd. But
It's just all spam. It's like who wants to go to a forum? Like I don't get that. Like it's like now I got to hire a VA to go on Reddit and look for anything related to what I do and just start spamming Simply Noted. It's just like it's just weird times.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We've always felt like our turf, quote unquote, was being encroached upon by different variations of paid search. Back in
Hmm.
the day, it was like 90-10 split, organic to paid. And it really hasn't changed too much. It's still probably like 80-20, even though, there's just way more ads everywhere,
Yeah.
right? That kind of mimic it. So it's interesting. Google understands, I think, to some degree that organic is still what drives their business, maybe not financially, but through consumer trust. As soon as they start surfing up all these irrelevant things, people are going to switch to a competitor. So it's very fascinating, talking about Reddit, talking about these, search forums that are taking the number one and two spots over, websites that probably deliver more helpful
Yeah.
content than normal. So yeah, I think you're spot on.
Well, I'm already getting off of it. I mean, YouTube's owned by Google, but I'll go to YouTube to do a lot of my search now, or even Instagram. I know that's a meta company, but I'm very frustrated. But I'm not a casual user. I'm a business user. I'm trying to solve issues within business, so I don't want to go to a forum and look for bots who've clicked an upvote and trust some person on a forum, right? Like I would still rather go to a website who has authority, who's done research, who is giving me some very in-depth detail with a video. You know what I'm saying? Not some 4 sentence blurb in a form. Reddit makes me feel what the internet was in 2000 or 1995. Like seriously, I remember going on forums and like commenting on forums and then seeing my rank as like somebody within this forum because I was very engaged, right? Like it just makes me feel like it's very archaic. Like it's just why are we going backwards 30 years? Like I don't get it. I don't
I
get it.
think it's super interesting you said that, right? Because Google's always about helpful content, right?
Yeah.
And they've taken like user search signals the best they can through algorithms to decipher what's the best. So a website like Reddit might have a million upvotes, even though it's like a snarky post or a post that doesn't have any relevance. And then Google will probably display that in the AI overlays, like, oh, this is the number one ranking, right? Like,
Yeah.
there was one that was like, trigger warning, but it was like things to do on the Golden Gate Bridge, and the feature snippet, the AI overlay was like, jump off. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, that's
I
not
know.
something you want to be promoting,
Yeah.
but people are doing that kind of thing. So
Well, you're fighting spam, you're fighting bots. Like there was that study that showed like Twitter, it was like over 50% bots. Like that's like what most of the internet is. It's just like spam. Like that's why you want to go to somewhere you trust, right?
exactly.
Like, and that's why I think the brand, right? Which I think anybody in SEO, if you're long term, you understand you can't just focus on Google. You got to have social. You got to have reviews. You got to have authority of your website. Podcasts, right? You got to build a brand now more than ever, because just posting blogs and getting backlinks isn't going to work anymore.
Yeah, that's the evolution of it,
Yeah.
for sure. But it's cool that to touch back on what you said earlier about your experience with SEO, how you got started. You've got to do a lot of different verticals in the SEO space, from digital PR to outreach of universities by building out really cool data sets they might be interested in, to, like you said, manually reach out on LinkedIn. So that's really cool. Do you have a favorite aspect of SEO?
I really like podcasting. I've been on probably 150 or more podcasts. That was started probably almost 2 years ago, like when the podcasting thing was really kicking up. It just felt fun to really connect with people. Like, you're connecting with, with unique individuals doing something cool and you're building relationships. Like this is a very personal thing. And there was a book that I read a few years ago. It was called content based networking. So it's like by creating content with somebody like that, like, you know, we're doing something unique and you're sharing this with your audience and I'm sharing it with my audience, and I'm giving you access to my audience and you're giving me access to your audience. And it was just like, oh, it made sense. Right. So I like doing stuff together, with people because of something like that. It just makes sense. Like we're helping each other. I'm getting insight to what you're getting insight to what I know. We're sharing experiences. And that helps you kind of go through problems a little bit better. I've made a lot of mistakes in my development and SEO journey. So I wish, I could have talked to some people sooner, but, having friendships and connections, with people like you, I mean, that helps you not make those mistakes. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's just life, right? You live and you learn.
Mm-hmm.
There's no mistake as long as you learn from it.
Yep.
So I totally believe that. How has
Yeah.
How has SEO impacted Simply Noted?
I've really spent like no money on ads. I knew I wanted to do something evergreen. When I thought of ads, like you had to spend $1 to get a lead, and you would have to keep spending money to get leads, right? I wanted to, or in the early days, like when I really started understanding about, like, I was all outbound sales in my previous career in corporate America. I had to go knock doors and make calls. I knew nothing about, people coming to me for
Inbound.
business. Yeah, I
Okay.
knew nothing about inbound. And once I figured that world out, I knew if I was going to invest there, I wanted to know that the work I did today was going to benefit me 3 years from now. So like that's why I really wanted to go into SEO. But until I shared this with you before, my recent blunder of launching our new site. SEO. It, it was important to our business because we rely on it for inbound leads every single day. Um, we don't spend that much money on ads, like literally probably like $50 a day, like literally nothing. It's all SEO. I probably spend on SEO activities average $2,000 a month, just on updating and posting new content, PR stuff. But I always wanted to do something that was going to last for years because I knew I was just going to keep filling the bucket, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think I almost want to call that out, right? 2 grand a month. SEO is an investment, but you can use financial resources or time. And you chose time. You became passionate about it. You learned. You tried. You experimented. And SEO is all hypothetical at the end of the day. But I just want to give you a shout out, Rick, because again, about 2K a month total through tools, etc. But at the peak of Simply Noted, you had over 100,000 sessions a month, which is phenomenal. So
400.
400,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy,
and then
right?
yeah, yeah. I could
Yeah,
talk about all the mistakes that made that go down. But
yeah.
yeah,
So you touched on a little bit. Website migrations are one of a swear word to a lot of SEOs, just because there's a lot that can go wrong through them.
yeah.
I know unfortunately, you've experienced a little bit of that in the past. What are some of the major takeaways if you could go back in time through migrating a website?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, like when we got to our peak, we were averaging around 400,000 sessions a month for probably about 5 or 6 months. And what I learned there, if you look at all these content-based websites, like what got you here won't get you there. And I just didn't have the technical skill, the knowledge, the funds to get to that next level. As I tried to just keep implementing what I was doing, it was just kind of keeping us there, kind of like a wave, shorts, ups and downs. And then I started taking risks. I started working with backlinkers. I started using new tools. We did migrate to a new version of our site, and our devs, when they migrated, something terrible happened. They de-indexed our entire site. So I went from 10,000 plus people a day on our website to 15, 25, and we're recovering from that now. But you'll grow through what you grow through what you go through. It's like, now I know, and then the next time I do this in the future on another site that I'm building, like, that mistake was made in the past, I won't make it again. But I think, from the peak of where we're at to where we are today, like, we're building back better. Like, we're kind of cleaning things up, getting rid of old content. I have literally a technical team. All they do is technical SEO now. So they're going through our sites, making sure all the tags are good, making sure everything on Search Console is connected right, analytics is connected right, like stuff I've just never been able to do confidently. So yeah,
I
I
will
mean,
say there's a not a sponsor, but there's a great tool that I use for migration. It's called SEO Radar, and basically you add a staging site in your live site, and it'll crawl both. It'll give you a side by side every day. It crawls it, so URL,
really,
or status, title tags, all of that stuff, schema, word count. You can look at it rendered, non-rendered, front end, back end, line by line on the code.
I
It's
love
amazing.
it.
So definitely
I
look into that for your next migration. Really cool people over there. Shout out to SEO Radar again, not sponsored, but just cool. So actionable tips for website migrations. They can go wrong for many different reasons. But if you're going through a website migration, keep the URL structure exactly the same, down to the HTTP or HTTPS,
mm-hmm.
www or non, and even the trailing backslash or no trailing backslash. If you keep that
Mm-hmm.
the same, you keep the titles, keep the meta descriptions the same, Google's generally going to see like nothing really happened in between. Hopefully, that your web developer doesn't no index your website, right? And then
That's
also, once your site is migrated, resubmit your old XML sitemap right away, even if you have a
yeah,
new version of it. So Google crawls the ones they know, and they find those redirects that you have in place. Hopefully, you
yeah,
didn't redirect anything at all, but if you did, it's a quick way to find it. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, I let my dev team fully handle it. I should have had a technical SEO team working side by side with my dev team. Not just trust the devs. Like, oh yeah, it's gonna be fine. Complete, nothing's changing. I'm just like, okay,
lessons
you're
learned,
right.
lessons learned.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what kind of, the main reason I want to talk to you is obviously big fan, just of the progress, and it's been cool to follow the path. But also, there's not a lot of CEOs that really are passionate about SEO, and or even CMOs, and not because SEOs can't get to that level, but just because generally, if you're in the career and you're the corporate path and you're really good at SEO, there's more money in going into consulting or freelancing than starting your
Yeah,
agency and then working up the corporate ladder. So it's
yeah.
really cool that you have that. And what kind of advice would you give to another CEO that's on the fence about marketing channels and specifically SEO?
Yeah, so our service, what I think is really important is for why like I'm so focused on SEO is because I want inbound. I want people coming to me. We have like a very transactional product. People use us once a year or once every couple of years. I think CMOs or CEOs, they have these big like business arbitrage. We are gonna, find some channel partner and invest all this money and time into building this relationship who's gonna inject all these sales. So they put all their time and energy there, or some like crazy ad campaign or crazy marketing campaign, and they're going to blow their wad there. Um, but I want people coming to me. I want to be the leader when someone is online looking for our service. I think that's in the long term is going to help a business go through ups and downs. Go through a recession, go through what do you call the global wherever we went through COVID. When
Pandemic?
you go, yeah, we go through a pandemic, we go through a recession, you go through issues, and I want people coming to me, but I'm a sales focused kind of guy. Like I want leads. That's my background, sales. So I think for CEOs in the transactional market, if you have the bullets and bowling ball kind of approach where like, I don't know if you heard this, but like bullets is like your test, do small tests, small shots, small fires, make small mistakes and get perfectly aligned before you blow the big campaign and all your money. That's really like how I've tried to like manage this business. It's like, hey, invest 2,500 here, 2,500 here, not throw $50,000 into ads and hope I find the right client. Right. So, that's just what it works for me. I want to be a leader. I want to be the person in the space that when they think of handwritten mail, they think of us. I want leads coming to me so I can just follow up and like, hey, you reached out to us. Like, what can we help you with? Versus, hey, this is what we do. This is how we can help you. Do you have a project for
Yeah,
me?
it's way
Right?
easier to live
Yeah.
in the bottom of the funnel
Yeah.
than having to go through the full
Yeah.
funnel every single time.
Yeah. Yep. So if you have search intent, right, and they're coming to you with an intent to buy something, it just makes it a lot easier. And I think that's what SEO is all about. And it's a lot more inexpensive over time than just throwing money into marketing campaigns and ads.
No, I love that. I love that. I love that you know your business so well. How much did personas like? Did you spend a lot of time building personas to market your content too?
Well, personas for like on social,
For
or are you
like
talking?
for your content that you're writing for the blogs and articles?
So, not really. So, I mean, there's just so many people who use us. We kind of just go after decision makers. I mean, we do a ton of outbound. I mean, that's a whole different side of our business. We have cold callers, we have cold emailing tools. So we do social outbound, but it's more like decision maker focused, like brass, executive level positions. So, if like you were doing like a um, look-alike audience. We're just going after decision makers in marketing and sales. And that usually works well for us, but we're operating in so many different verticals, and that's a problem for us too, because political can use us, nonprofit can use us, real estate can use us. And all of those have different seasons. Like real estate's really like in like January through spring era, because that's when everybody wants to like look at homes and buy. Nonprofit and political is more like on the back end of the year. So it's like we can't just focus on one because all their buying seasons are different. So we're more focused on like just buying, like people who can make decisions,
Sure.
that type of stuff. But it's a really unique service. When you tell somebody like, hey, you want to send handwritten mail, like you have to find the right person. Most people don't even know what we do exists. Robots, loading paper, writing a note, in your handwriting on your stationery. Like it's so unique that we still have to like let them know exactly what we do. So that's why we want to talk to the decision maker all the time.
Yep, that totally makes sense. You being a CEO with SEO experience, you got to a point where you got to scale your business. We talked about this a little bit offline, where you're like, hey, I grew this business to, a really solid point, but now it might be time for me to take a step back and hire someone. I know you recently went through that. What kind of questions do you ask like an SEO agency that's like trying to solicit to you or get you an RFP?
All I tell them is, hey, this is what I've done in the past. This is what's worked for us. This is what I've not been good at, which is the technical side. And this is where I want to be. Like, I want to continue our rankings, our domain authority, our brand building awareness. Like, like I want them to be confident that they can take us to the next level. And you can tell usually when you talk to people, like they'll be hesitant. Um, like they don't know what they're talking about. If someone's confident in what they're doing, like they'll confidently free flowing talk about it. But most people are really hesitant. I think when you get to these bigger, higher traffic, higher ranking websites, it's just a little bit more intimidating, right? Because most of these smaller agencies, all they are doing is the traditional stuff. They're getting you a couple backlinks a month and they're posting some blogs. That won't work anymore. It just won't work anymore. It has to be technical. The website has to be fast. It has to be mobile friendly. Like stuff breaks all the time. You have to fix bad links. Like you have to make sure you're updating blogs. Like you have to be getting more and more and more and more links. Like I don't even know if that even matters anymore. Like I'm at the point where it's like do I just have to 10x it? Do I have to do more outbound and invest more in PR and to go to the next level? We've been stuck at like a four, and I know most people don't care about this, but I do. But we've been stuck at like a 45, 47 DR rating for like 2 years, and it's like, what do you want me to do? We're getting tons of links every month. We're doing toxic backlink editing. Like I'm hiring companies to come in and clean up toxic backlinks. Like I'm trying everything. It's like so. Anyways, like it's outside my control now. I think any young CEO or entrepreneur, like you got to wear a bunch of hats. You got to learn the basics of everything. But now it's time to hand off the baton to somebody who has the technical abilities to take you to the next level. And I think that's what we've done. I feel pretty good about it. It allows me to focus on other parts of the business that I'm better at.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know if you're better because you are a very good SEO. The results speak for themselves. So I wouldn't shoot yourself in the foot like that. But maybe other parts of the business that just need your eyes on it a little bit more at this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know a couple of things just for people listening to this. Other CEOs or CMOs that are hiring agencies. A couple of rules of thumb I live by would be do they practice what they preach? If they can't get the rankings and the traffic themselves organically for SEO related keywords, why would you expect them to do it for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do they have experience in your industry or your market size, or your revenue goals? So
Mm-hmm.
to Rick's point earlier, a lot of smaller agencies are like, we're really good with dentists and lawyers and these smaller mom and pop shops, but maybe not so much an e-com site, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's got 100,000 to a half a million searchers a month, and those kind of goals might scare them if they're like, oh yeah, we 100x, every website we've touched. Yeah, when you have 10 clicks to 1,000, that's not that's not that
Yeah.
impressive. If you could
No.
go 25% a year when you're already at 100,000, or 10% a year when you're at 400,000, that's a lot more impactful.
Yeah.
So that's a couple of rule of thumbs I would have. And then also the fact that you, Rick, have been passionate about SEO, you understand the verbiage and how SEO speak, you can probably cut through some of the BS. You're like,
Yeah.
that's not even a thing. Why would you
Yeah.
even pick that
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of thing for me? So
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's great advice. I think when people are thinking about marketing, they have the holistic approach. You can't just focus on one thing, but you can't leave SEO out. If you are a serious business and you have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, if you're not taking this seriously,
I don't think you're taking your business seriously. Like you're just, you have to invest in it. If you want to be a real brand that can be found online, that's providing a service for a long term. And I think of like it's an asset too. Like our website's an asset. Like it's generating leads, right? Like when we sell our business someday, like I want to have a 70 domain authority, 500,000 people a month to our website that's converting and bringing in revenue without anybody doing anything. Like I want my website to be worth $2 or $3 million,
Yeah.
outside of my book of business, outside of my technology, outside of my patents, right? So you got to look at it like that. If you have like, you want to sell your business someday, like this is an asset that's going to go along and increase your multiple on your EBITDA. Like, so before the Google apocalypse, I wanted to do a blog just on the side and try to build it up and sell it just to do it, but I'm not touching that right now because I don't want to go into the short form content, video content. I don't have the time, but it is an asset. You have to look at it like that.
I agree, it's an asset, and SEO is also a force multiplier in so many scenarios. In the sense of, yes, if it's done right, it will drive its own leads, its own revenue from traffic. But it also opens you up to build your CRM. So maybe they don't convert, but maybe they're willing to give you their email address, right? You add it to your CRM, your nurture.
That's another asset, right? Yeah. Like your subscriber list, right? Like
maybe they only go upper funnel to one of your blogs, right? And they don't convert at all. But if you have retargeting and remarketing, now they've heard about you. Now you're targeting them in display and throughout the different social media profiles, right? So it's a force multiplier in a lot of ways. So yeah, great point.
Yep. And there's some really, I don't want to go down this path, but even people who are going to your website, you can track IP addresses, grab their email without them even signing up to you, retarget them. But there's a lot of cool tools out there.
yeah, you're like me, I like to tinker around with it, but greatness, right? Maybe it doesn't work. Yeah. It's awesome, and it's a little bit of time investment to pursue that path.
Yeah.
As we're wrapping up here, Rick, you want to give any shout outs?
Honestly, shout out to my team. Like we've had the same core group. I couldn't have done this where I'm at without my team. We have a really solid, loyal, committed team. We've never had anybody leave, knock on wood. So we have a very good, strong, loyal team over here at Simply Noted. And then words of wisdom is like literally just never stop. I think that's what's made me successful in my life. You got to know when to take a break, but never quit. I think most people, they try something for a week or two or a month or two or 4 or 5 months and they're not seeing it. They're thinking it was going to be easier, but everything's harder than it's ever been because there's so much competition and everything's changing so fast. So that's going to you may see a spike that works real quick, but it's going to fall real quick. But you gotta learn just to walk, and never stop, and versus just sprinting. So I would just tell anybody, I'm a football player with a sales background who started a robotics, software, industrial automation, patent owning, weird niche company guy. Like this never would have happened if I just didn't stay consistent. And that's why I was successful in SEO. I was consistent every single day for 2 years. It just takes consistent work. You got to commit to it. You got to work at it and just never stop. And those are the people who are successful in the long run. You talk to anybody, when they hit their success, they sell their business, they'll just tell you that there's a lot of bad days. And there are a lot of bad days, but just stay consistent. And that's what works out in the end.
I love that. I want to say, kudos to you, for having such great employee retention. As we wrap up, I do want to ask though, what do you think the key to that is? What's the key to building
flexibility, empathy, being on the front lines with them? Don't be a leader from behind. Be a leader by their side. I would never ask my team to do anything that I don't do. I delegate things that I shouldn't be doing, but I'm not delegating things I haven't done before. Like I know how to do it because I did it first. And then once I figured out, I'm like, hey, can you go do this? Like a great mentor of mine told me is like, if somebody can do something 70% as good as you, it's worth delegating. And that's what And I thought, as you grow, you have to learn to delegate better. You have to be a better project manager, business manager. You can't keep all the hats on and do it yourself. So that's where we're at. That's probably been part of the reason why we haven't grown as fast, because that took me a while to figure out. But, you know, it's working out now.
What do you think as an entrepreneur, right? And there's a lot of people listening to this that are probably in that similar experience. What's the key to having like a good work-life balance while still staying around as an entrepreneur?
I don't think if you're an entrepreneur, I think work-life balance, that's a loaded question. I think it's really hard to be. I'm a family man. I'm at home every day at 5, but that doesn't mean that my mind's not on work. Doesn't mean I'm not checking email still. That's something I really struggle with, because I'm so competitive and I'm so driven, and failure is not an option mindset that I'm going to push through no matter what. But I just think like that's the world we live in now, that it's like, it's really hard. It really matters on the level of success you want. Like I want to build like a $50 million business. Like that's my vision. And, if you're okay with a $200,000 business, you may be able to have a little bit more balance. But my goals are very lofty and very high, and it takes a lot of effort. But I think what you can't do in business is lose sight of what's most important is your health. I've really struggled. I've had a lot of health issues from stress in the past, but I've learned from that. Again, you grow through what you go through. Like physical stomach issues, like your stomach will literally get all jacked up. And then your family, your kids, number one priority no matter what. Like you can't be good at work if you're not good at home. So you always got to make sure that that's good. And don't lose sense of who you are, right? Don't just forget who you are and forget doing the things that you love doing, your hobbies, your interests, your friends, your family. I think that's why a lot of people end up getting divorced or sad or depressed, because their identity becomes their business. And you have to learn how to somehow step aside from that. Like, hey, I'm still me. I'm still Rick, football player, family man. I have kids who likes to hike and hunt and camp. Like, you still got to do those things. So, and that's something we all struggle with. So it's just keeping that top of mind, write it down somewhere where you can see it when you're having those hard days. But yeah, I think those would be the things I would recommend.
I don't know how much more I could add to that. I think that's super well said, but I think for me, the hobbies one is super important, right? Like you got to pursue the things that make you the happiest, and it makes that work, the grind that you have as an entrepreneur is a tough battle almost every single day. You have a lot of highs, certainly a lot of lows, but then when you do have that time to disconnect, you appreciate things just that much more. Family, friends, loved ones, hobbies. But yeah, man, mental health goes hand in hand with the physical, especially with stress. Can impact your stomach and your digestion and your head, your neck, all that stuff. So, Rick, really appreciate the time, man. I know you're a busy guy. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.